welcome to everyone. I am going to take the liberty of taking up agenda item number 4 first this morning, which is retirement presentation. And this is for our Constable of Precinct 3, Stephen Duffy. He's been 20 years of service to the county, and we appreciate everything that Stephen has done. He's really worked hard, been a huge presence in this area, the Dehennis area, for all these years. And Stephen, we appreciate you so much. I think that's some pictures. We appreciate you so much, what you've done and the service that you've given to the citizens of this county. So, and I hope you enjoy retirement. We got it all. Did you need one, Anton? Oh, right there.
Look happy, guys.
At least 50% of this is happiness. Anton, do you need another one? Anton, did you need one from you? Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, just thanks for everyone's support through the years. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Stephen. Also, there is some breakfast that's going to be served next door in the break room over there. So anybody, as you're making your way out, please go over there, because I'm sure everybody's worked hard and probably there's way more than we can handle over there. So please make sure you go by and get some breakfast as well. Would y'all like a picture? Would y'all all like a picture with the court and with Stephen? We can do that. Come on. Stephen, if you want to come in over here. I'm going to let your family around you, and I'll go back there. Oh, this court is organized. Congratulations. Okay, next, we do have public comments this morning, but I'm going to leave the option. I believe everybody here, I got 4, and I think they're all comments for item 2. And so I'm going to leave it up to you all. Would you rather comment before, or would you like to hear the presentation and then make your comments afterwards?
Either way works, but afterward might be better because then.
Yes, yeah, because they have a really good presentation. So personally, that'd be my recommendation, but it's your option. And then we have Steve Moore.
Yes, sir.
Steve, do you want it afterwards or?
Mainly as a resource, but afterwards, yes, just a very brief time.
Okay, and then also, Juliana, same?
Yes, sir.
For you afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So with that, we will go ahead and take up agenda item number 2, discuss and take possible action to enter an order designating a reinvestment zone, authorizing the Medina County execution of a tax abatement agreement with Rowan Land Resources LLC, and authorizing the execution of a road use agreement and construction management agreement. And Clay, did you want to start this off this morning, sir, and then we'll have the presentation?
Sure. Clay Benford, representing the County Special Counsel. I was asked, as you all know, to assist the county in negotiating a potential agreement under Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code for tax abatement with the Rowan Group for development of a data center in the ETJ, the City of Lytle, Commissioner Lynch's precinct. Over the past several months, most of 2024 actually, we've negotiated the terms of that agreement, and there's an agreement that is presented today for the county to consider. This has required a number of steps that have had to be undertaken, including negotiation with the business principals, but also under Texas law in order to allow the county to enter into an agreement such as this, including economic development guidelines and criteria that we had to conduct a public hearing on and then adopt, which we did earlier in December. October, conducting a public hearing concerning the concept of creating this reinvestment zone and entering into an abatement agreement, which we've done. Delivery of notice of the agreement to all of the impacted taxing jurisdictions that overlay the property, which we have done. So today is the final step, if the Commissioner Court so chooses, to act on the creation of the zone and the entering into of the tax abatement agreement. Details of the agreement, I believe, are going to be presented by the Rowan Group, which is here right now. So I'm available to answer any questions, but I recommend let them go through their presentation, then I can supplement that. Okay.
You can flick it right on your own.
Okay, just up and down.
Yes.
All right. I'm Aaron Henry, Director of Economic Development with Rowan Digital Infrastructure, and just wanted to say thank you to the Commissioner's Court for having us here today, being able to discuss and possibly take action on the reinvestment zone and the agreements we're talking about today. What we wanted to do today was really go over who Rowan is, talk about the project that's at hand here and some of the agreements, and just giving everyone perspective of what's in those agreements, what the project is, and really what Rowan stands for. And I'll also introduce Matt as well, if you want to come up, introduce yourself.
Good morning, commissioners, members of the audience. My name is Matt Lamont. My position with Rowan is the Chief Solutions Architect. I'm actually a licensed architect, 35 years of experience. The majority of those 35 years have been spent in the design and planning for data centers. A little bit about Rowan as a company. So as an architect before joining Rowan, I've actually practiced and designed data centers on every continent with the exception of Australia. A lot of experience worldwide, and what really attracted me to this little company known as Rowan, I actually was their architect, worked for them as a consultant for the past almost 2.5 years. And what drew me to Rowan was their sincerity and their transparency. I was so impressed with them as a company, I decided to leave the principalship. I actually was a principal with the firm headquartered in Dallas with offices in Austin and in Houston. And I made the decision to leave the consulting industry and actually join Rowan full-time. So I've been with them now almost a year. Again, my role with Rowan as the Chief Solutions Architect is to work with communities such as yours throughout the United States in planning data centers in a responsible manner, understanding that a data center as an investment, we actually effectively are stewards of a fairly large investment, not just in the data center itself, but in the community at large. So I'm very pleased to be with you today, and again, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Just want to go over the agenda, like I said. So we'll talk about who Rowan is, we'll talk about our project, and then we'll go over the 3 agreements that are at hand here. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank Clayton Finford for all of his efforts. Really over the last 8 months, it's been a long time. He's really helped shape and guide these agreements for the best interest of the community, and also something that we can bring forth today. So that's what we'll go over, but just want to thank Clayton for his time and support throughout this past couple of months. We have the Commissioner's Court here, full house, so that's great to see. And just want to talk about the involved parties. So, we've been negotiating over the past 8 months, but this project really started back in late 2021, throughout 2022, and then over the past 2 years. And so these are a lot of the groups that we've connected with. Obviously, Medina County, Go Medina, City of Lytle, City of Natalia, the water utility districts. We got AEP Texas involved there for electricity, and then Rowan Digital Infrastructure, and then eventually our customer and tenant for the facility, which we'll talk about in a little. So a little bit about who Rowan is and what we do. Matt alluded to kind of who we are, what we represent, but Rowan is a build-to-suit developer. So we identify land, we build a powered shell, and on that land it's a data center facility, and then we have a tenant come in and occupy that facility for the long term. The main focus for our data centers is power. So getting power to that facility is kind of the first domino, and that's where we work with AEP Texas getting line of sight to that power. We are really a developer focused on de-risking these sites, the project, working with the county to get a project off the ground, and we're able to do that because we have industry veterans like Matt himself. We have individuals from the large hyperscalers. They have vast experience working with those companies and building and bringing data centers to fruition. And we're able to do that also through our partnership in sustainability. So Rowan focuses on sustainability, but we also partner with customers who have those same values and goals, whether that's renewable energy, whether that's responsible resource stewardship with water, and also just using sustainable materials throughout our construction process. Those are important to us as a company. They're important to our customers and tenants to really reduce carbon. And we also do that because we are a Article 9 funded from a PE firm. So we have requirements and carbon emissions that we're supposed to hit as well. So that contributes to that Article 9 requirement. I'll let Matt speak a little bit about what differentiates us in the market.
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. So Aaron mentioned a concept known as sustainability. Sustainability has a lot of different meanings, not just to the professional community, but to the community at large. From the perspective of Rowan and who we are as a company, and what we fervently believe as an organization, to truly be sustainable as a development, you have to satisfy three core tenets of sustainability. Yes, we've all heard that environmental sustainability. It's about reducing the carbon footprint of a project. But more importantly, for a project to truly be sustainable, besides being environmentally sustainable, it has to be economically sustainable. The project as itself has to make economic sense, not just the developer and to the customer or the tenant, but also the community within that development is located. And finally, and probably more importantly, besides environmental sustainability and economic sustainability, the project has to be socially sustainable. Does it create jobs for the community? When the construction crews that are responsible for building the project, are those crews, do they consist of local resources, or are you trucking or busing them in from Philadelphia? So really, you have to satisfy all three of those core tenets of sustainability for something to be truly sustainable. It's one thing to say, yes, I use low VOC content in my paint, so I'm environmentally sustainable. But are you truly, really sustainable? Not unless you've satisfied all three of those core tenets. We talk about green standards. I mentioned one of them. We use low VOC paint. Aaron talked about the fact that we as a company we fervently believe and actually are bound to the concept that we need to reduce the carbon footprint for a project. What does it mean, reduce the carbon footprint of a project? It's not just in the building materials used to build the project. It's in what's called the embodied energy. The amount of energy required to bring materials to the site, the amount of energy required to bring people, construction crews to the project. So we need to think much deeper than just the building itself, but think about the root causes of how do you get the building built? What's the impact that project has on the environment? And if there are ways we can plan and design that so you minimize the impact of the environment, now we're talking about truly being sustainable. Aaron, anything else we haven't talked about in this slide? Or can we go to the next one?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of this at our projects in Frederick, Maryland that are kind of off the ground, started construction and getting approved.
I'm glad you mentioned Frederick. So let's talk about social sustainability. Recently, Rowan, we actually attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Cal Ripken Senior STEM Center in partnership with the Frederick County local school district. Rowan was a significant contributor to a brand new STEM center, which directly benefits the K-8 educational school that's right there in the community. So the fact that we, through our involvement with Frederick, again, this is a little community about an hour and a half northwest of Washington, D.C., our involvement in that development and in that community will directly benefit the constituents of that community for many, many years to come.
Yep. Thanks, Matt. And that's what we hope to do here in Medina County, replicate a lot of that community engagement. As Matt said, And for us at Rowan, community engagement is big for us. We want the community supporting the project, a partner really in the project side by side with Rowan. Rowan's going to be there long term in the community. The tenant will be here long term. And so the only way we're able to do that is being open and transparent and engaging with the community early and often. And so we've been doing that over the past couple of months, engaging with Medina County, City of Lytle, and then we hope to expand that to the community at large. And so the way we're able to do that is hosting open houses. We did that in Maryland. We get the community. We have an open house. We kind of do it with little exhibits about the project. Social, financial impact. We'll talk about construction. We'll talk about renewable resources, things that our tenant could be doing, and so we'll engage the community, and we'll also it's a great area for the community to give feedback, and we do this before the site planning process, because a lot of times what we hear from the community can get included in that site planning process. For example, in Frederick, Maryland, certain areas of the project we had certain setbacks. We put in berms. We planted additional trees in certain areas to shield some of the visible building from local residents. So that's just one example of why we do those open houses. It gets the community engaged, understanding what the project is. And for example, this is one part of that community engagement, being able to speak about Rowan, speak about the project. We also put out a website, facts about the project, frequently asked questions, and that just brings clarity to the residents about what the project is and who Rowan is. And so we hope to be able to schedule that open house, kind of post this vote today. We'll be able to kind of progress those steps of doing an open house and progress the project along. So those would be the next steps, kind of open house in January. We'll be able to we don't have a tenant on board yet, but we're in close final conversations with a lot of potential tenants, and hopefully being able to lock one in as well. Because as I said, being a build-to-suit developer, their design dictates our site plan. So then we would be able to progress that site plan along as well, and hoping to do that in early 25. So that's a little bit about Rowan. Let's talk about the project here in Medina County. So just a little overview. Right now we have line of sight to 300 megawatts of power by 2028, and that has been contracted with AEP. That comes in phases based on their infrastructure, what they have in place, upgrades they might need to do, is why you see us receiving those megawatts in phases. So first megawatts come in 2026 with the full amount by 2028. The parcels you're looking at here, this is northwest of the city of Lytle. It's about 440 acres. It is in unincorporated area, so it sits in Medina County, no city currently. Our plan is to annex into the city of Lytle post-construction, and will be governed by them during operations. As I said, working with AEP Texas pretty closely to get line of sight to that power. There is fiber infrastructure, and then also the water. We do have 2 existing wells on site that can be leveraged for water. So what I'll go into now is the agreements that are at hand here today, talk about what are in those agreements, and some of the conditions that are put in there. So it is a Chapter 312 property tax abatement at 80% of real and personal property for 10 years. That is only on the M&O portion of the Medina County property tax. So the INS isn't being touched, and all the other county taxing jurisdictions aren't being touched from that agreement.
Road and bridge includes bridge.
Yeah, and road and bridge, correct. And we'll go into some of those on the next slide, some of the benefits from those. But the minimum investment required, and so what we did with this agreement actually is did it in phases. As you saw, those megawatts come in phases, which means we have to construct in phases to take on that megawatts and for our customer to use those megawatts. So our initial phase requires a minimum investment of real and personal property of $900 million, and then each future phase has a minimum investment of $300 million. So we can't access those future phases of 10 years of abatement unless we hit that minimum of $300 million. There is a 40 full-time job requirement, and those jobs must meet 120% of the county average wage. So that's done as a percentage. Just as that county wage grows, that requirement will grow as well. I mentioned the phases. We are constrained to the number of phases, or restricted to a number of phases. So we have up to 5 real property phases over those 10 years, and up to 4 personal properties phases, and we can construct up to 10 data center buildings on that property. So that allows the county to have line of sight to how many buildings can be built, how much investment will go into there, so we're not overbuilding that land. Those buildings also have a max requirement of 350,000 square feet and can have a max of 2 stories, about 28 feet per story. So that gives line of sight to what totally can be constructed there. It's not guaranteed that we will go up to 10. Some of our tenants might not need 10 buildings to take on 300 megawatts. Some might need more than others. So that's why it is up to 10, but might not be the final number there. It could be something less than 10, depending on the final tenant. Community engagement I spoke about, and a lot of things here, and what I spoke about earlier with Rowan, we verbalized a lot of things that we do, what we commit to, how we operate in construction, what we do with the community. But I think what we were able to do with these agreements was actually document that and put it into an agreement. So that protects the county. The county is aware, and it's written of what it is we're going to do, versus just us coming up here and saying what we do as a company. So that's the community engagement, where we're going to engage the community. We'll have that open house. We'll do a project website for that, and those are things we already do on other projects. Another item under the 312 is a county road. So we know it's important access across our site to the neighboring county roads. So we have agreed to put a county road across our property, and that'll be included in the site plan process and identified there. And then also I said about operations. We do plan to annex into the city of Lytle. If that, for whatever reason, doesn't happen, it does have to be voted on by the city of Lytle, and we are willing to go into the city. If that doesn't happen, we will still follow the city of Lytle ordinances, just so we are governed from a project standpoint and do have oversight of us from the city of Lytle, no matter what happens, annexation or not. So that's the Chapter 312 agreement. That has the incentives in it. And then in it, we'll talk about fiscal impact of our project and the incentives as well before I jump into the other agreements. So we did have a third-party impact data source. They've drafted this fiscal impact economic study, which I think you all have copies of. I've summarized some of it here. So that is... what it's doing is it's looking at the economic and fiscal impact of the project. What I'm talking about here right now is just the fiscal impact, predominantly property taxes. And we're looking at that over the next 20 years. So this overview does incorporate the 10 years of incentives that are being contemplated today at 80% abatement. And those incentives based on this, and we're looking at the first $900 million of minimum investment. So about $500 million of real property, $400 million of personal property. That is expected to generate over the 20 years about $17 million of incentive for Rowan and our tenant combined. In addition to that, I'm going to look at the net benefits here. You'll see we have gross benefits. The cost looks at the cost to the various taxing jurisdictions from our project, but also maybe offsets that they might receive. For example, the school district, we know that once they get a large increase in tax revenue, sometimes the state of Texas will offset their contributions, the M&O contributions, to them, because they are getting that revenue now locally. So that's what that net benefit is. That's why you see such a big drop from the school district. And that would just be their state funding kind of coming down and being replaced by our direct project tax revenue. But you can see pretty substantial numbers over the 20 years. Medina County at $87 million. That does include the M&O. So that's M&O about $37 million. And then the other taxing jurisdictions there. Road district, which doesn't have the incentive, groundwater, no incentive, hospital district, and then the 2 ESDs as well. So those are all combined. And then also you can see the school district substantially benefiting. This project does straddle both City of Natalia ISD and then Lytle ISD as well, based on the parcels of the full 440. So significant benefit from this project on property taxes. I won't go into some of the economic benefits, but there are substantial direct and indirect economic benefits of this project, jobs and also CapEx and spend. So that's the fiscal impact. Just wanted to highlight that. And then we'll go into now we're outside of the Chapter 312 agreement. We've also agreed to a construction management plan agreement, which will govern all phases during construction. And then we'll also talk about a road use agreement. I'll give it to Matt to go through some of the construction management plan.
Thanks, Aaron. So we talked earlier about level of transparency, level of engagement, and also from a construction standpoint, how do we interface, how do we engage with the property, the land, the community? We've all seen, and I think Clay, you probably have a reference to a particular project on U.S. Route 90 just west of Castroville. We won't mention the exact location of that, but our intention as a developer is to do in no way resemble what's going on that site. Let's talk about hours of construction. Understanding that our site just west of Lytle borders County Road 683 to the east and 6712 to the west. There are a number of very well established and wonderful residences that encompass or that surround our site. Establishing routine and mandated construction hours that no earlier than 7 a.m. and no later than 7 p.m. 6 days a week. That's something that we hold ourselves to. Something we've instituted for a project in Frederick, Maryland, and we're adhering to. Let's talk about engagement with the areas just outside the boundaries of the site. Let's talk about interfacing with the local school district, understanding the routes that those buses are going to take in the morning and the afternoon, picking up the students going to school and dropping them up after school, understanding where those bus routes and when those bus routes pick up and drop off students. We'll carefully orchestrate our construction deliveries so as not to coincide when those bus routes are taking place. We're doing the same thing in Frederick, Maryland. Let's talk about the several hundred construction workers which are required to deploy to the site to build this magnificent project of ours. Understanding that those construction workers need to have a place to park, to eat during breaks, understanding that it's probably best not to locate those parking areas for the several hundred vehicles right next to the site where you're in either endangering or impacted residences. So what we did in Frederick, we actually located an area nearby but a distance away from the site. So those workers are then bussed in from that remote parking lot to the site. It minimizes impact to the surrounding roads that border the site. It impacts just the negative consequences of that construction traffic that are on those roads that weren't originally designed to handle that such traffic. And it's worked out very well for us in Frederick. Let's talk about construction waste. We talked earlier about sustainability, environmental sustainability. Our goal at our Frederick site initially was to divert 70% of our construction waste so that it does not end up in the local county landfill. We were able to achieve an 85% reduction in construction waste that normally or originally would have been destined for the landfill. The fact that we now are able to take that waste, either recycle it or recycle it and adapt it for reuse in other parts of the construction site, is something that it reduces carbon footprint for the project, it reduces construction traffic, and it reduces waste. And that, again, that adheres to our core values of being as low carbon and as environmentally friendly as possible. Let's talk about habitat. We talked earlier about environmental sustainability. Our project in Frederick, Maryland, we actually identified a bald eagle habitat that was not on the site but was immediately adjacent to the site. We identified a 600-foot radius around that bald eagle nesting habitat so that when those eagles are nesting and providing, they're in their young, no disruption whatsoever was able to occur in that part of the site, and that's something that we're still doing today. So part of our analysis, the way we look at the land, not just on the site, but surrounding the site, that begins even before that first shovel has hit the dirt. Understanding there's habitat, both for wildlife, birds, and so forth. We understand that that is part of the natural value of the site. So to the extent that we're able, we elect to preserve that. Management plan also goes in terms of where you have your laydown space, your staging area. Let's say if this building requires concrete or steel, where are those materials placed on the site before they're being erected? It also requires careful consideration as to where those laydown spaces and areas occur in relation to the surrounding residences, knowing that we're not going to have a pick yard right next to a residence. If there's ways for us to justify our development so that we pull it away from County Road 683 and push it as far to the south as possible against the railway, doesn't necessarily negatively impact the developable aspects of a project, but it enhances the buffer zones that we can maintain between our, what's called the disturbed area of the site, and the residences to the north and to the east of us. Monitoring, understanding that, I think, Clay, we talked about this in the last couple of meetings, it's not just what we say up here in front of the body today, but how is that. You have to have something that's measurable, because if it's not measurable, there's no way for you to verify it's actually occurring. So we actually set up a monitoring plan that's very closely adhered to throughout the duration of the project. We hire typically a third-party organization that'll come in, they'll monitor the construction activity, they'll monitor the accumulation of dust. Are we properly watering the site to prevent the accumulation of dust? And again, that's something we're currently doing on our project in Frederick, Maryland. It's working out well. And the fact that we are, because it's measurable, and you have a system to measure it, you have a way of demonstrating that you're actually doing what you say you're going to do. Staffing plan. We feel very, very strongly about the goal of utilizing locally available crafts, skilled labor, and trades. Again, rather than busing it or flying it in from Philadelphia, if we can derive the labor required to build this very, very large, significant project of ours, if we can derive that labor from Medina County, we're going to go Medina County. Aaron mentioned earlier that we have a public outreach, which initially will consist of an open house held probably right here somewhere in Medina County. Haven't yet identified the venue, but it'll be here in the county. What happened during our series of open houses in Frederick, Maryland, we actually had attendees from the local trade unions that reached out to us. We actually were, and we're still today, engaging with those trade unions to attract and retain locally available trade and talent that's required to build this project. We'll do the same thing here in Medina County. It's a little story of mine. So I was in San Antonio on Saturday night, and every weekend they have a light show against the main facade of the cathedral in San Fernando. And I sat next to a wonderful family who actually hailed from right here in Castroville, just east of us. And he was talking about he's a retired electrician. And we talked earlier about the level of engagement, how we engage with members of the community. And this individual, this family of his, as an electrician, he worked all across the Western Hemisphere, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Hawaii, everywhere in the 48 lower states. And he said when it came time to retire, he could have retired anywhere in this country. He chose right here in Medina County. So not only that says something about the quality of people who are here in the county that are available we can draw upon to build this magnificent project. It also speaks the testament of the quality of community you have here. So we take that very seriously. Speaking to our experience in Frederick, Maryland, we actually have members of the Rowan team who have relocated and are now residents of Frederick, Maryland. They're there for long haul. Same thing with Medina County, because we aren't just a developer that will flip this project in 16 months or 18 months. We're in for the long haul. Aaron talked about typically the financial model of this project is to hold for between 15 and 20 years. So we are a long-term fixture in the community. So as a result, we are already putting roots down here in the county. Site plan submittals. Again, something that we take very, very seriously. That initial site plan submittal is, we talked about, for something to be measurable. that site plan submittal is it's kind of the first step for how do you prove you're going to do what you say you're going to do. That site plan submittal will make not just in front of the body here at the county level, but also the city of Lytle. That's a way for them to effectively hold our feet to the fire. Let's talk about Clay, we talked about this earlier, that project along US 90, they bladed the entire site, including some very, very mature live oaks that today are gone. Part of our process of understanding the context of the site, we will do a tree preservation plan for every square foot of that site. And if there are trees that are of value and significance that can be preserved, we're going to preserve them. So that particular activity of ours becomes part of our site plan submittal process. That tree preservation plan becomes an exhibit that is attached to our site plan submittal that is then submitted to the reviewing body. Again, that's a way for them to measure that we're actually going to do what we say we're going to do. You want to do the next one?
Yeah. So that's construction management plan, and as I was saying, that is throughout every phase. Whenever we're in construction of a phase, we will be governed by that plan. The other agreement that we're looking at today is the road use agreement. So we understand there's neighboring county roads that are going to be used for the project during construction, during operations. And it's really important to be able to look at the conditions of those roads pre-construction, evaluate them, maybe even needing upgrades before we even start construction. Evaluate it from that standpoint, but then also benchmarking the conditions of those roads. And then post-construction, looking at the impact to those roads over the period of construction and being able to financially compensate the county for the impact to those roads. There's normal wear and tear on those roads, but from a large project like this of the scale, we want to be able to compensate the county, the residents, the community for the impact to those roads. And again, we'll use a third party to do that analysis, that benchmarking, that post-conditions analysis, and that agreement will be backed by surety bonds. So financially, those payments can be covered if anything happens. So that is the third agreement that we would be looking at with the county in addition to the 312 and the construction management plan. We also are, outside of these agreements today, we are working with the city of Lytle for a development agreement. Really, the focus of that development agreement is for wastewater for our facility. So that is in process. We're expecting kind of Q1 2025 to have that infrastructure kind of determined with that development agreement. The other part, domestic water, we were actually in two utility districts, East Medina and then also City of Lytle. So East Medina had first right of refusal. They obviously want our service for domestic water, so we are working with them to put an agreement in place for domestic water. The other part for the facility is industrial process water. So this is your water that's used for cooling, should there be needs for cooling. So what we are doing right now is working very closely with our tenants, understanding a project in Texas, kind of what are their designs, what are their expectations for cooling, whether that be liquid or air cooled. We're also working with them on the mechanical systems that they have in place that can actually reduce the use of water on site. As I said, we do have 2 wells on site that go to the Edwards Aquifer, but we are hoping to be able to materially reduce the amount of water needed for the project. And most of that will be through the cooling method that's selected by our customer. And if there is a need for water from our customer, the plan is to source that from the existing on-site wells that Rowan owns on the site. And then the last one, water sustainability. So we are doing studies right now with a consultant. They are looking, should we have a need for water, they're looking at ways to kind of offset the project's water use in the community. So they're still evaluating those. What we are doing is coming up with different methods that our customer can use to help offset that water. So those could be constructed wetlands, those could be water restoration projects, either on-site or off-site. But again, our customer is the one in the end purchasing the energy, purchasing the water, and using that water, and we would work with them to surface those opportunities that they would then put into place and financially back. So that is water sustainability. So these are all kind of City of Lytle development agreements, but a few items outside of that agreement that we're working on with the City of Lytle. And then I just wanted to mention, I've said it a few times, the AEP agreement. So with AEP, we do have what they call an interconnection agreement. And we have multiple of those agreements for the megawatts that we're going to receive over the 3 tranches that we talked about. And the way they're able to confidently say to us and say in that agreement that they're able to provide those megawatts is because what they do internally is a study based on our demand and needs of the project, and also what their infrastructure can support at the time and what the upgrades might be needed for that infrastructure. So AEP took our applications. They did their own review. They also do a review with ERCOT, ERCOT approving that they can also provide those megawatts. And that's why you see the megawatts phased out over time. That's allowing the AEP infrastructure to be upgraded and increase its ability to provide the megawatts to us, ensuring there's grid reliability there for the community. So that, like I said, there is going to be upgrades to the AEP infrastructure in the community. Rowan takes that cost. We cover that full cost for AEP. We do an upfront payment, and then we also pay it over time with our rates. So we directly will front that money. And also what we see in other communities as well is as you increase that transmission infrastructure in the community, it also increases grid reliability and stability for the local community as well. So it has that kind of indirect impact as well. So I'll stop there. I know that was a lot. I know you guys have a long agenda, so I apologize for taking up so much of that time, but we thought it was important to talk about who Rowan is. The expectation is to be a long, present member in the community and grow here and really be a partner with Medina County, City of Lytle, and the community at large. So just want to thank you all and open up to any questions or comments.
Excellent. Okay, I think at this time, I'm going to go ahead and let our guests that are with us from the public give comments. That's okay.
Yeah.
To you all. So the first item, Mr. Halasek, John Halasek, come forward, sir. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Wonderful presentation, by the way. It did generate some questions, which maybe afterwards I can ask you, but I wanted to make these comments quickly since I only have 3 minutes. While it may increase the revenue at point in the future years, was that an 80% abatement of the taxes that would be paid, is what I saw in the presentation? So you're paying 20%? That's huge. And I question I'm not sure the integrity of negotiating that 80%, but to me that's significant. I don't think it should be anywhere near 80% abatement of taxes. And it may increase property values in the vicinity of the facility if it's built in that corridor where they're talking about. But how many families will be displaced because they can't afford to pay the increased taxes from the property values that would go up supposedly from this facility? It's not an area of many people with significant income, and this could displace them. I don't know if you've taken that into consideration. Maybe you have. I attended an ESD 5 meeting in Natalia last year, and there were people complaining because they set their tax rate at the maximum. And 2 people, at least one lady, another lady said she was considering, they're retired, they have to go back to work to be able to pay the increase in taxes. So what would this do to their tax bill? Would it displace them? And these companies generate significant income or they wouldn't be making these investments. So I question the 80% abatement. Maybe some, but I question the 80%. There's not a significant number of people in that corridor that would be employed at such a facility that have those kind of skills. So it may bring the people in, but the people that work there or that live there now are not people that would be employed there. Also, I am concerned about the power requirements. 2021 is history, but there were significant issues. Data centers didn't shut down, but most of our residences did, because power was directed to where it was considered critical. Hospitals had power, but residents, no. So they may be able to provide 300 megawatts, but what happens when the grid gets stressed? And then also, too, I saw water, and there's 2 Edwards wells that they have, and they talked about their water rights, but EAA determines, Edwards Aquifer Authority determines how much they can pump. And is that going to affect the local agricultural community and pumping from the Edwards? I don't know. Well, I won't go into that. As far as the TERS is concerned, I'm okay with that. But since there's not county facilities in that area, if it goes to Lytle, then maybe that's one thing. If it's annexed to Lytle, but if it's not annexed to Lytle, I don't know what kind of landscaping or other exterior facade improvements would be made according to what those funds could be used for. But it says streetscaping and utility improvements. But the utilities seem to be water, which is not owned by the county, and electricity, which is not owned by the county. So I'm kind of questioning what would be the result there. But anyway, that concludes my comments. I thank you for your time. And again, wonderful presentation, and maybe I could bend your ear outside afterwards to maybe get some answers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Do you want to add?
He covered everything. I was back up.
Hey, that's a pretty good endorsement. You got it right. You can't go wrong this morning. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Steve, did you have anything to add?
Very little. Appreciate the presentation very much. My name is Steve Moore. I actually work for Rowan. In full disclosure, I'm their legal counsel. I live in Austin. And I do a lot of tax incentive work across the state. And I would just add that I think that if we can negotiate this agreement and enter into it, it would help this county attract a very large, very relatively low impact project that will attract 40 high paying jobs to this county and create a sustainable long-term material property tax base for this county. And there are other counties in Texas that are vying for these projects, and this will help it come here. Thank you.
Juliana?
Yes, I actually wrote stuff down. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Juliana Bolin-Lingo from Lytle ISD. I serve as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. It is an honor to speak with you today on behalf of Lytle ISD to express our strong support for the Rowan Digital Infrastructure Project Cinco in Medina County. This transformative initiative has the potential to bring tremendous economic and educational opportunities to our community. I myself am a 7th-generation Medina County resident. I do reside in Medina County, barely in Lytle, but I do live in Medina County. That was one of my dad's stipulations, that I moved back to Medina County after graduating from A&M. My kids are 8th generation, and they're 7 and 9 years old, so they do attend Lytle ISD schools. Projects like Project Cinco represent more than just progress. They offer a brighter, more sustainable future for families like mine and countless others across our county. The proposed data center will create high-quality jobs, attract new investments, and enhance economic stability throughout the county. These benefits will provide impact and positively impact all residents, strengthening Medina County's reputation as a hub for innovation and opportunity. Lytle ISD is particularly excited about Rowan's emphasis on green and mission-critical technologies, which align perfectly with our career and CTE, Career and Technological Education and Cybersecurity Programs, which we already have an established cybersecurity program in Lytle ISD where our kids are getting certificates in cybersecurity. The partnership will provide students with invaluable hands-on experiences, internships, and mentorships that prepare them for technology and sustainable careers of tomorrow. In a recent meeting with Rowan's leadership, we discussed ways to engage students and the community through the project, from its planning stages to long after its completion. This demonstrates Rowan's commitment to building long-lasting positive relationships in Medina County. We commend you for considering this transformative initiative, and I urge you to support it. Project Cinco will be a catalyst for growth and innovation, paving the way for a brighter future for all of Medina County. Thank you. Thank y'all.
I know this is a long presentation. There are a couple of gaps that I think might be helpful if I fill in, and I'd like to respond to one of the comments about the 80% tax abatement. I mean, that's the headline, right? That's what people are going to see, and I think that's a bit of a misnomer that needs to be clarified. The county tax rate is comprised of three components: the interest and sinking fund, which is debt retirement, the road and bridge, and then the maintenance and operations, which is all other county operations. The interest and sinking fund and the road and bridge is not part of the tax abatement, so the county gets all of that tax revenue from day one for the life of the project. The M&O piece is where the 80% abatement resides, and that is only for the first 10 years of the operational project, which presumably has at least a 20-year life. So the years 11 through 20, not only do you get 100% of the INS and the road and bridge, but you'll get 100% of the M&O. So if you were to average that abatement out over the life of the entire useful life of the project, it would be a significantly lower percentage as a percentage of the entirety of the county taxes that will be generated. There are also numerous other taxing districts that are going to enjoy the benefit of 100% tax revenue increase that is being facilitated by the county, and that is the emergency service district, the hospital district, the school district. The city of Lytle, I understand they're working on their own agreement that would come into play post-construction when they would be annexed into the territory, but that's a separate issue for them to address. So I just want to say, and I hope that answers your question as to where does the 80% come from? This is something that was negotiated as a business term, but I think some clarification on that is important.
Thank you. Could you address what us agreeing to this abatement agreement gives us the ability to do as a county?
Sure, happy to. That was exactly where I was going, Commissioner Lynch. As you know, when I was first approached by the county to address this, I declined the representation because I didn't know if I could be impartial and objective enough for something that I'm so emotional and passionate about in order to serve my ethical canons. Rowan are great people that have been fantastic to work with, and they've been accommodated for all of our requests. But I went into this not believing a word of what they were going to tell me. That when they come in and they say all of these great things that they do across the country, in my line of work I've seen them all over the place, and the worst words that I hear, we want to be good corporate neighbors. I've heard it 1,000 times, and I've never believed it for a second. And when they say these things, they get these agreements in place, and then they turn it over to their contractors, and they care about two things: on time and on budget. You look on Highway 90, and you can see that. So when we went into and that was my message in our initial conversation. I think they will tell you that's exactly what I told them. And so over the time and me being able to examine my ability to be objective about this and said, okay, give them an opportunity to be willing to memorialize what they said that they would do. And that's what we did. And so this concept of, I am absolutely pro-property rights. If you own property, you should be able to do with it what you want until it comes to a point of where it impacts the ability for the people around you to live the lives that they want to live as well. They get to enjoy their property rights as well. These facilities come into an area that is not equipped from a regulatory perspective to compel them to do what they're required to do from a good neighbor perspective. This agreement allows us to compel that where regulatory oversight does not exist. So one thing that I took into account, not only the benefit to the county, but how does this impact the other people that are already there? And in a vacuum of a void of information, people are going to fill it with the worst possible solution and then have to make decisions based on those assumptions that are going to impact their daily lives. What are you doing? That should be a minimum threshold of a good neighbor perspective. Tell the neighbors what you're going to do. So in this agreement, before they can start construction, within 30 days, they have to deliver a certificate to the county that says, when do they start? How long is it going to take? What is your completion date? How many buildings are you building? What is the scope of your phase? Give us the site plan, the layout, indicate the buildings and their locations, the improvements for the landscape, indicate the location of the infrastructure, water, wastewater, electricity, and drainage. Should allow the reasonable and objective demarcation and segregation of the property and personal property, including within each phase. List the necessary permits and approvals and copies thereof, as well as the plans and specs of what you're building. Identify your general contractor and give a building layout and survey of each phase. They deliver that to the county. So Commissioner Lynch, when you get a call and you say, what are they doing over there? You actually have an answer for them. You didn't have an answer. You didn't know because they didn't tell us. And so people have to make decisions based on the information that they have, which is rumor and innuendo. I thought that was fundamentally an issue that we had to start with. Secondarily, we needed to have an opportunity for citizens and residents to have a voice of what is happening in real time that they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis was not compliant with what the contractor said that they were going to do. So we've set up a hotline to where the Rowan Company has to have a hotline for citizens to be able to call. And the Commissioner's Court gets notice of all the calls that are made, and they get a response as to how the complaint was addressed. And if it was not satisfactorily resolved, then everybody has to come to the table to come up with a solution that is compliant with the documents that we put in place and is respectful of the residents that are experiencing the negative consequences on a day-to-day basis. We also have Rowan. You heard them say that they are going to annex into the city of Lytle after construction. Okay, why do you do that? The reason that you do that is because in an unincorporated area, you don't have the requirement for building permits and the other regulatory building thresholds when you are within a municipality. The Texas legislature has empowered with regulatory oversight of a facility like this. So what they want to do is they want to build what they want to build, and then after it's done, okay, now we'll annex. Well, we said no, we don't like that. We're going to require that Rowan adhere to the ordinance requirements of the city of Lytle as though they have been annexed at the beginning of construction, even though they have not already been. So they might not pay a permit fee, but they have to do everything that you have to do, all of the preliminary work that is necessary to obtain a permit. They are going to agree to do that, even though they don't have to go through the permit process. That is going to also apply to operations. So even if they come to the end of construction, they say, you know what, couldn't come to our terms of our agreement with the city of Lytle, so we're not going to annex into the city. They're still going to have to adhere to the ordinance requirements of Lytle as though they were in there. Nobody else can do that but for the county, because they're currently not in the Lytle jurisdiction. So you are contributing some prospective portion of future tax revenue that you would only be entitled to receive if this thing is built. And in exchange for that, you've been able to protect the citizens in that area in a way that you would not have otherwise. Now, there's a long way of answering your question, but there's a lot that goes into it. We have the tree preservation, we have the road agreement, we have the requirement for them to have set construction hours, dust mitigation, water use plan. None of those things have existed in any other facility that is going to be in place. And what ultimately was compelling for me to serve in this role after I initially declined it was the ability to set a threshold for what's going to happen in other places. If I'd known that there was a 250-foot building setback that the county was able to negotiate in this agreement, if that was applicable in my personal situation, I might have made a different decision. At least I would have had all the facts in front of me at the time. And so what is that worth? $20 million to the county over a 10-year period. Potentially increase if they go over the $900 million. Over a 20-year useful life of the building, that's $1 million of county revenue. You get everything that we've talked about, which is objective and definable. You heard someone from the Lytle ISD that's going to tell you how important that is to people down there. You have minimum job requirements that are tied to 125% of median CPI adjusted annually, even though jobs are put in place in 10 years from now. They get the natural rise of the consumer price index to make sure that they're above market. All of those things are in here. But to me, being able to stand in front of your citizens and say, here's how we've seen what's happened, you don't like what's happening, here's how we're going to address it. And that's what other people are going to have to see as the rules of the game. Maybe they look at properties and they look at what you did here and they said, that's not the property for this anymore. That's the way it's supposed to work. So anyway, it's an evolutionary process. It's similar to what we did on Potranco Road. Every time we do a deal, we get a little smarter, we get a little stronger. Medina County is compelling for all the reasons that you just heard. So we need to take advantage of that to drive a hard deal that's going to make it a place that people that are already here, that have made it special, still want to be here. And that's what ultimately compelled me to do what I did. That's the agreement in front of you today.
So, a couple of things. I know once at late 21, I think Rowan team was also started looking at Medina County through Medina. I think my first talk with y'all was early 23, February 23. This is the second presentation on February 9th. Rowan also made the same presentation because we did
December 9th.
I'm sorry, February. Yes, I'm going to give still. But yes, December 9th, they also made this presentation, and I do appreciate the presentation that y'all have done. As Clay talked about a minute ago, I mean, the Constitution of the state of Texas and the statutes are the things that we can enforce. Property rights, you can pretty much do what you want with your property. And when this opportunity came and the question about the abatements came, I called Clay, and more than Clay's fingerprints are in this agreement, his heart's in this agreement. And he didn't want to do it at first. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, because the truth of the matter is he's taken this at a level of protecting our citizens, which is what we asked and what we wanted to do in here. And I'm going to tell you, this agreement ain't for everyone. There'll be plenty of people that don't want to do this agreement, because I think the meat of this, first of all, what's in there, the phases that Clay was passionate about making sure that we had phases and things that had to happen before they could take advantage of the opportunity. And then further, it's 7 pages, but I think that construction agreement that protects those citizens that live in that area is huge. I think it is. And so to me, that's what this whole agreement is about. It's not about just, hey, we want to give a tax abatement to somebody. We are abating something because of what it's doing to protect our citizens while we're growing. I mean, it's an impact to that. There's no question about it. And what do we do to make this palatable and a good experience? And I do believe that, Rowan has worked hard on that. I think there'll be plenty of people that go, no, we just can't do that. And, that's okay too. Then it's on one hand unfortunate because, it's the same kind of tool. We've taken the same tool that Commissioner Sitter uses all the time with PIDs, which is we get a better product because we go to the table and we make these, we can now do things outside of the Constitution and the statutes, which is what this agreement allows us to do. So, Clay, I know I've told you a bunch of times, but thank you. I appreciate what you've done for the citizens and working so hard on this for almost a year. A lot of work. And I appreciate the road team for you all hanging in there. I think at that very first meeting, Clay told them exactly what he said in there, which was like, well, here's the problems we have, and I appreciate that you all would address those and stay in line with this. I think it says a lot about this team, and I think we have all the tools in here to make sure that what's laid out in here we're able to actually obtain at the end. So I'm proud of what's in the agreement, and I look forward to people that have concerns, because I think we're going to have a place where you can be able to actually have a voice, and we're going to have a voice in it all too that says, did we all keep seeing the Kumbaya all the way to the end of it? So, which is fantastic. That's what I have. Commissioners, questions, comments for anybody out here?
Well, like I said, I'm happy that started from the first first and the first GFS chemical entity. That's been 2015?
No, it was 11 or 12.
11 or 12, my first initial aid, the first bid, or it turns together. The general public doesn't realize what the legislator has done to the commissioner's court. They come in a piece of property like this, that they're coming to us to tell us what they're going to do, compared to, let's just say, a mobile home group. They can cover this whole thing up on half-acre lots, so several thousand trailer houses could have came in there. They don't That's one of the bad things about the way the legislature works, and I work with the legislator. I got 5 or 6 of them on my phone daily. So that's how we have to work with the politics end of it. As far as going into the church end of it, yes, we'd be able to sit down and have a lawyer on our side, which I can't imagine this county hiring a better attorney than Clay Benford, that they get to pay for. That was my first thing. My first church I ever did. We had probably the nastiest, ugliest lawyers out of San Antonio looking down, me and Judge Martin's throat. And I said, okay, this is the way it's going to work. They're going to pay for our lawyer. So how long are they going to fight? They can fight with him all day long. If he lives here, he's going to die here in Medina County. Other than that, it's just the incentive this gives to people to move into Medina County to have a place like this quality of work. My only thing about this whole ball of wax, and I know y'all worked on this thing a long time, if you're going to have somebody come in here and want to generate a bunch of data, then you're going to use air-cooled systems. That's my only question in this whole agreement. Microsoft has agreed on every one of their projects in Medina County now. They are using air-cooled instead of water-cooled. That is not, that's no deal killer. But these things do take a tremendous amount of water if you're going to water cool. We have, I'm talking about 500,000 gallons a day. And that's on the short end of it. So yeah, you're going to do air cool. That's what we're having a problem here with Medina County with water right now. But Clay, I want to congratulate all y'all for what y'all done. And with that being said, I will make a motion to enter into a designated reinvestment zone, authorize Medina County executive tax abatement agreement with the Rolling Land Resources LLC, and authorize the execution of a road use agreement, a construction agreement, which we have never had ever in Medina County. So that is my motion.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to enter into an order designating a reinvestment zone, authorizing Medina County's execution of a tax abatement agreement with Rolling Land Resources LLC, and authorizing the execution of a road use agreement and construction management agreement. Any other discussion, Commissioners?
No, I don't think so. The actual report for the fiscal impact is actually included, yes, in ours, and they explain the 80% tax abatement really well.
Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Excellent. Welcome officially to Medina County. Wish you all good work. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Don't get it breakfast out there. Don't forget, we're also make sure you grab yourself at the top. We're going to have a lot of county noise all day. Okay, I'm going to skip another item here, and I wish I'd done it earlier because I'm a little bit short, but we're going to go to item number 11 now, but I'm glad I'll stay for that presentation as well.
Me too.
So, we'll do 11, presentation and discussion with Medina County, Medina Central Appraisal District regarding the possible purchase and renovation of a bridge building located at 728 18th Street, Hondo. So, Donette asked to come over this morning. As y'all know, they reside in our tax office building, which will be vacated sometime here, first, second quarter of next year. And they've been looking for quite some time at possibilities of what they're going to do, and I think they finally have a possibility in mind. And as part of that, every one of the entities that you all work with has to approve that purchase or whatever they're going to do. So this is a first. I think we're going to have another presentation later, but this is just to kind of set the groundwork, and then they'll come back with agreements and stuff, I believe, for another meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So with that, I'll let you take it over.
Actually, I'm going to let Cindy Malone. She's got the presentation done.
So I'm chair of the Medina Central Appraisal Board. It's not the appraisal review board. It's not the board that reviews the actual taxes, but we supervise the office. I'm joined with Jody Jacobs, who's also on the board with me. and you know John Ed is the chief appraiser. So, as the judge explained, we have found a building that we would like to move into, and I'm going to skip some of the preliminary comments because as the county, you know where we are, and you know why we're leaving. And I believe that the tax assessor is actually going to be out of the building before we're able to be out of the building. We have looked at other opportunities. We considered building a new building over at the airport. We looked at the library. We looked at the Hondo National Bank building. And for many reasons, we've evaluated all those properties and decided that they were not appropriate. We have found the building on 18th Street. It actually is on the north side of the tracks. It has been the mental health office. They've moved the mental health office out. It's about 5 separate buildings. And we would hope to, at some point, go in and renovate it. Johnette has 11 employees. With the growth of the county and some of the things we've heard today, she's going to need to add employees over the next few years. We would like to move into this, purchase the building, renovate the building, and be set up for her office to function at least for the next 20 years. The cost of the building, I'm going to let Jody explain because he has negotiated the contract with
Good morning.
the seller.
Jody Jacobs, thank y'all for listening to us. So the building, as Cindy explained, is it's actually a strip center owned by Sheldon Grove House. It was not on the market, so to speak. We looked at it to lease. He came back to us later on and said that he would be interested in leasing it or in selling it to us. I don't think I'm going to go over specific pricing at this point. Unless y'all want to know that, it's under contract still, so we'd like to keep that off the record for now. So, anyways, we just feel like with the space that's there and the ability for us to go in there and repurpose it to suit our needs, that it's going to be the best deal for us right now moving forward. It's a good location, and so we're under contract. We've got a 90-day feasibility, 60-day feasibility period in there, and of course it's pending approval by all of our taxing entities. That's contingent upon that for us to purchase it. We've had an inspection on it. We're working through preliminary design with an architect, and then we're going to get some budget figures as well from some contractors to go in there and repurpose it to suit our needs. So I'll just tell you that we feel like it's the best bang for the buck. The schedule should be quicker than us going and building from the ground up, and so that's what we're at with it.
Thank you.
Excellent. No, I do know the city. I know what she meant. Just for clarity, she said there were 5 buildings. It's actually one building, but they're set like a little strip, like the cleaners is in it currently, MHED kind of section. So it's one big building, but they would obviously do away with all the
Yes, it's one shell 5 spaces.
7,900.
So obviously, we don't need that much space at this time. I think the footprint that we had from another appraisal district building in Kerr County, that was a little over 5,000 square foot. So that's, give or take, that's what we're shooting for. But I think with the additional space, we can utilize that for storage and then future expansion if need be. So.
Offices and a hearing room, and we're not able to have hearings sufficiently in the building that we're in, and we're intending to use a lot of the space for hearing rooms for the summer hearings. We have talked with 3 local banks to help us with the financing. Johnette has managed her budget very well over the past few years, and she has a significant amount of money, about $500,000 in a building fund. We're using part of that for the down payment. We're going to try to hold back some of that for potential overages. We want to seek construction financing so that the banks would finance the repurpose of the space on the inside. I think it is a metal building, actually, because there are not any load-bearing walls, so I think we can go in and draft or have an architect prepare for us a space that's usable for a long time, hopefully. I can go into further numbers, but I think Jody's right. I think we're at this point in time we need to kind of reserve that. We hope to have the whole project done, let me say that, $1.5 million, $1.6 million. And we would do a construction loan, and then at the end of construction, move it into permanent financing. And because of the appraisal district being a tax-exempt entity, the 3 local banks we've approached have said that our interest rate would be significantly lower than what's available to a commercial entity. Now, the financing of this over the long haul is that tax dollars from each of the taxing entities that Johnette's office serves will be used to pay for this. We are currently paying $3,500 a month to the county for rent in the space we're in. We expect that to increase significantly, potentially maybe $10,000 a month to maybe $12,000 a month, but financed over 12 years. And then the county is only responsible for your percentage share of the tax dollars that Johnette's office collects. And the other taxing entities would pay for the rest of it, school districts.
So is there a net number like what that is, like for each entity, or will you have that when you come back?
I'll have it when you come back.
Okay.
It's a percentage.
Yeah, I don't remember what ours was.
Right now, I think y'all pay 28% of our budget.
So this brand new building could pay for it. It would increase we're paying $3,500 to y'all, to the county currently. It'll be about $10,000 to $12,000 per month in the future, and we're expecting 20 years.
So it's $2,800. It's 28% plus the $2,800 plus the $3,500 property.
That's
Right.
true.
Right.
So we are approaching all of the taxing entities that have to vote yes. We have to have 12 of 15 taxing entities vote yes for us to go forward with this. We're making all of the board meetings and court meetings this month, and then the board will adopt a resolution, and when we adopt that resolution, all of the taxing entities have 30 days to approve a resolution approving the building. We'll be back in front of you in February to say, okay, it's time for a vote. We hope you support us. We hope to close on the land. Yes, we hope to close on the land in mid to late March after we get the resolutions from the taxing entities.
I would recommend taking a picture of what you got, the size of all your little bitty crammed up rooms. It's not a first move on down the road. I don't think you're going to have a problem.
Okay, we'll take some pictures. It goes to worse than that. Commissioner Sitter, Johnette listens to the rats in the ceilings.
We don't need to get into the work.
Okay. Yes. Anyway.
You haven't seen the rest of it. Early in the morning, right? They have visitors.
You gotta keep the fan going, you don't hear them.
So we hope you will support us when we come back. But we didn't want to hit you up and say we need a vote today. If you've got questions, if you want to talk to us, if you want to tour the buildings, we'll make it all available.
Can they vote on it today?
Can they vote on it today?
No, it's not an action item.
Well, we have to do a resolution first, and then we come back for them. Yes. Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, you're going to back to item 5, discuss and take possible action to approve personnel action ordinance. You're usually done an hour and 20 minutes ago.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. In front of you are the PAFs for this court. The first one is for Sarah Sadoff, Auditor's Office, change pay schedule. Esmeralda Trinidad, JP2, retirement. Esmeralda Casanova, tax assessor, and she is increased with an approved slot. You'll also see some resignations we're about to go over. A lot of these are some of the SROs that resigned due to the MVISD. Jason Garcia, Sheriff's Office, resignation. Charles Moreno, Sheriff's Office, resignation. Amber Riojas, Sheriff's Office, transfer. Carlos Torres, Sheriff's Office, resignation. Mason Bragdon, Commissioner Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Francisco Cuellar, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Francisco Godinez, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Armando Gonzalez, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Trinidad Gonzalez, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Clayton Patterson, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. Adam Rodriguez, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot. And Gilberto Serna, Precinct 3, increase within approved slot.
I'll make a motion that we approve the personnel action forms.
I have a motion and a second to approve the personnel action forms. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 6, discuss and take possible action to approve line item transfers. Go ahead.
Good morning. We just have one line item transfer for $455,000, and it's moving funds out of reserves into the 12-fund budget.
This is from when we did that last payment on the jail.
I'll make a motion that we approve the line item transfer.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the line item transfer. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Item 7, discuss and take possible action to approve accounts payable.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
Accounts payable was $669,380,36, and we had one wire transfer in the amount of $8,275.
Just on 36,669,000.
No, $669,308.36.
I'll make a motion that we approve accounts payable with no exceptions.
Have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payable with no exceptions. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 8, discuss and take possible action to approve disbursement of funds since last Commissioners Court meeting.
All right, utilities was only being paid $17,539.79.
Make a motion that we approve the disbursement of funds since the last meeting.
Have a motion and a second to approve the disbursement of funds since last Commissioners Court meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9, discuss and take possible action to accept the maintenance bond number GM 244176 for street and drainage improvement in Hunter's Ranch subdivision, Unit 15D, located in Precinct 2.
I will make that motion to accept the maintenance bond agreement for the drainage and improvement in Hunter's Ranch, Unit 15D, Precinct 2. The only other thing is the department, I think, to my right, and if we are new subdivision rules and regulations, I think it's going to go to 100%. Am I right, First Bank?
That's what we have in the new agreement.
100%. Yes. And like I said, I have reached out to them and let them know that, but I think they're getting close to the end of the program.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second from Commissioner Waller. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 10, discuss and take possible action to approve commercial development plat creating Show Center at County Road 381, located in Precinct 2 at the intersection of FM 1957 and County Road 381.
Okay, this is an ongoing, me and Justin has had probably a dozen meetings with this group, and we are working on getting this thing approved. We have worked already on an agreement to entering this property off County Road 381 across the street from the elementary school. And they are in works with TxDOT, and TxDOT did send Jennifer a nice letter that they are working with the developer, and this will be finalized. They're not going to hold it back, but it's going to take a long time. They have a major issue with drainage in front of the property, but it will be finalized. So I give them my blessing to go ahead and approve this commercial development plat. Because they're trying to rent out the building space. Because I know some people are trying to rent out the building space into the building. The center of County Road 381 Precinct 2 is the intersection of Highway 1957. There's a major development coming on Franklin Road. I just don't know how soon that's going to get here. The timeline don't sound like it's going to be within the next year or two, but anyhow, there's some major construction going to be happening on the Franklin Road right there at that intersection. And I know that Jessica has some stuff going caddy corner going across there that will be coming up in the court also. But anyhow, it has my blessing to go ahead and have the same plan. That is a motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve a commercial development plat creating Shoda Center at County Road 381, located in Precinct 2 at the intersection of FM 1957. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12, presentation of sexual assault response team or SART biennial report. Mr. Scott Simpson, Criminal Justice Office. Sorry, I kept you waiting, sir.
Oh, no, it's great. It's the first time I've actually watched Commissioner Court. It was wonderful to hear. It was great work. So it's biennial report, but so it's not actually supposed to take place till next year, but next year happens in 2 days. So I took this over in February when I came back to the DA's office. I'm a retired prosecutor for 20 years from Bexar County. The purpose of the sexual assault response team is to try to get the same type of integration and cooperation that this county has successfully done through the Blue Bonnet in terms of child sexual assaults. The child sexual assault, it's always difficult to have to report some type of traumatic event, but the Blue Bonnet has been successful in getting child sexual assaults handled and successfully prosecuted. We only had 3 adult sexual assaults filed with the DA's office this past year. Now, it puts me in a strange situation. I'm not advocating that we want more sexual assaults, but I have to believe that they're underreported. Okay? And so the purpose of the sexual assault response team is we meet monthly from the DA's office, from members of the mental health community, and from law enforcement to try to see what we can do to encourage reporting. And in the end, we still, unlike a child sexual assault where lack of consent is simply because they're under the age of 17 and the perpetrator is more than 3 years older, for an adult, I have to prove lack of consent by one of the 14 ways listed in the penal code. I made copies of those if anybody wants to see those down the line. But we still have to prove. Lawyers like to inflate their importance and say that what a lawyer does, but the facts still matter. Okay, and so for adult sexual assaults, it's important that it gets reported quickly. And so the question is, so it's one thing to sit up here and say, I think we're underreported. Okay, it's another thing. Well, what are we going to do about it? Okay, so a couple things are going on. One is that each of our jurisdictions really now have a dedicated person handling just sexual assaults. Okay, so it was always that case with Castroville because they only have one detective who's going to handle all the felonies. Okay, but now the sheriff's department has got a team of 4 detectives or investigators that are going to strictly handle all the sexual assaults. So it's much better to deal with the same group of detectives, and if you're somebody coming in deciding whether to report or not, dealing with somebody who has an expertise in handling these difficult cases is much better than dealing with somebody who's handling drug cases most of the time and now just picked up this sexual assault. Okay, so that's good. The other thing, and I don't know the answers to this, and so in a year and a half when I come back in another biennial, so at this point, what happens is if you're saying that I was sexually assaulted in a date rape type of case, we want a sexual assault kit to be done, which means you have to go all the way to the Methodist Transplant Hospital in Bexar County over at the medical center. But Medina Regional is starting a sexual assault nurse examiner program. So my goal is to get with that person and make sure that we're working in coordination. I remember when I was a prosecutor in Bexar County, Wilford Hall decided they were going to start a sexual assault nurse examiner program, and then I talked to them and they're like, oh, we're not going to let them testify. Well, that doesn't do us any good. If they're going to do a sexual assault, they have to come testify that we gathered the evidence. The nice thing about a sexual assault exam is, so for children, the first person they tell over the age of 18 about what happened to them, that's a hearsay exception. That person can come testify to it. We don't have that exception for adult sexual assaults, but what they tell the medical provider is an exception because it's for purposes of medical diagnosis. So that sexual assault nurse examiner can not only testify to the evidence gathering part of the sexual assault prosecution, but also recount what the person told them, so we have a consistency of that. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm coming here a year and a half and being like, it's great we have more sexual assaults, but I really do suspect that we're underreported. But what I want the community to know is that the DA's office stands ready, willing, and able to prosecute these cases, even though some of them are difficult. And as evidence of that, so one of the cases we prosecuted this year, it's not included in the stats because it was filed a couple years ago, is a husband and wife sexual assault. So we will do these cases when we have the evidence to do them, and we have the experience and ability to do it, and we need help from the community to let everybody know if you're sitting there and you've been the victim of this type of crime and you're wondering, well, do I want to go through all this? There's no way I can tell anybody it's going to be easy to go through it, but I can tell you that we have the experience and the ability to make it more palatable and successfully prosecute these cases. And with that, I'll ask if anybody has any questions about what we need to do from here.
So, first of all, thank you for the presentation on the most pleasant subject, really important. So, what is, do y'all have some things already doing as far as community outreach, or do you try to put this out there?
So we have members of the Family Life Center and the mental health community and the hospital community on that sexual assault response team. So it's just a matter of continuing to get the word out. All our officers know to make sure to get the information needed. I know a lot of people don't want to go to the sexual assault exam. They find it intrusive. But of course, if I'm sitting there as a prosecutor and the defense attorney is saying, well, so nobody bothered to collect evidence, it's going to be a problem. So I can't ignore that there's certain things I have to prove the case. And so I would just... I want the community to know that we'll go ahead and go forward on it. So you're not doing this for nothing. You're not going to have this done, and then we'll be like, oh, well, it's not enough. And so what I worry about, so one of those 3 cases that was filed with us this year, I had to reject. It's because what happened is they reported it 2 years later, and they said they talked to their counselor and decided that they think maybe I was sexually assaulted. Well, if they're not sure that they're sexually assaulted, I'm not going to be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But I worry whenever I reject one of these cases that the word will get out, oh, the DA's office doesn't want to handle those type of cases. So you as representatives of the community can help me with that in terms of, if anybody asks you, we will do it. We have older people at the DA's office here. We're not in Bear County to have a lot of young guns. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years. Julie's been doing it for a long time. Jeff Giles, Mark Avey. So we have veterans here, and we can handle these cases. And so you can help us with that and let everybody know, whoever bends your ear about it, no, the DA's office will take these cases, but you got to report them right away.
Did you hear that, Anton? Did you get that headline? You got to report on that. That's important. Did you pick that up?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Okay. So, presentation. Okay, item 13, discuss and take possible action to approve the American Rescue Plan agreement with the NC Water Supply Corporation for the construction of the Megan's Landing Reuse Plant. And this is the agreement for $125,000 of Maggie work through this. And this is really pretty simple. This project is already underway. So I got with Scooter, and this is a reimbursement. So they've completely finished the project, which probably is not very far off, 3 or 4 months out probably. They'll have a certification that says it's complete, it's operational, and at that point we would pay them the money. So it's not phases or anything, it's complete, and we pay it. This is part of the ARPA funds that, as you all know, we have to have obligated by the end of this year, and then they have 2 years to handle that time. So this is the last piece that we actually had, and I've got it red there to the right, 125,000. And then I just want to run over a couple of things on the spreadsheet with y'all. So we have to have everything committed by the end of this year, and then any money that's committed but not spent, which is only going to be 125,000 when we're done. It has to be done within the next 2 years. But what we did, because we were short and we still didn't have some of the things on the bank, is highlighted in yellow at the Divine Annex. We had spent almost $35,000 on the. We had still have Windows 7 and had to upgrade the entire camera, the servers, and everything in there. So we moved that to these funds because we could use that money. So we moved it back out of like where we were going to do repairs. We're using it here instead of in repair. And then right under that circle, that one, because I tried to highlight it, we just finished, which was the very last of the Zolta's phone conversions, which were in the probation buildings, adult, juvenile, and pretrial building for $11,787.60. So we took that out of our book. I just wrote the 92K to the side, just for y'all. So 88,017 is what we actually ended up spending on the ASR, and all those invoices are in. So we won't be paying anymore. That's done, and I verified all of that with them. Then the next one down, I told y'all a couple of months ago we had an AC repair on the old original jail building, Pat Ronner's building. Well, that was the new AC and the repair that was done. So we brought that $21,471 out of repairs and brought it to ARPA so we could expend the funds. So if you go down to the bottom, or the first green line at the subtotal, you see the $993.67 credit. It shows as a credit. Mm-hmm. That is how much we spent over that right now. Then what that leaves, if you go down to the pink at the very bottom, that leaves 2,036,2276, which is just the line at the bottom. And you'll see to the side what that entails now is there's still $23,345.71 for the maintenance of that paving equipment. And what's left now in the pink is all interest money, so we're not under the 2-year obligation. So if it takes longer to spend out the paving, $23,000, it doesn't run under that 2-year window on this money. And then the same, that leaves us $180,277.05 towards the Texan project. And that puts us at 100% compliance. The money spent with the approval of this $125,000 agreement, which has been sent to Yancy in the copy that you all have, and your packet, I do believe, has their signature already on it. So this will put us flush on the ARPA and all of our commitments we need to make.
I'll make a motion that we approve the American Rescue Plan agreement with the Yancy Water Supply Corporation for construction of any land reuse.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the American Rescue Plan agreement with the Yancy Water Supply Corporation for construction of Megan's Landing Reuse Plant. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and I thank you again for your help. Item 14, discuss and take possible action to pass a resolution approving submission of grant application for fiscal year 2026 Lytle grant program to the Office of the Governor. As you all know, we just accepted the money from them. You might have looked at it and said, are we doing this again? But this is us applying for the next round of money for 2026, which we were successful.
That is correct.
We were successful in receiving.
The one that we just were awarded was for the 25, and it was $14,022.45.
So this is us going back. We're going to ask again.
We're going to ask for more.
Always ask.
Always ask.
There is no match for this one.
I'll make a motion to pass a resolution approving submission of the grant application for the fiscal year 2026 Rifle Resistant Body Armor Grant Program.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15, discuss and take possible action to pass a resolution approving submission of a grant from the Body Worn Camera Grant Program to the Office of the Governor. Same as the last one. We received money on that one recently. How much was that one?
The grant amount was $7,515. The total project is $10,020. There is a 25% match on this one.
I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution for the submission of a grant application for the body-worn camera grant program to the Office of the Governor.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Waller. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Look forward to accepting it. Item 16, discuss and take possible action to approve an updated 50 Bose Incorporated quote approved December the 9th, 2024 for a postage mail machine for the tax office. So we got all of that done, and the quote that we had was expired, and so we're back here. It went from $1,270.80 to $1,276.53, and so for $5 or $6, we're back here having to redo it because they said no, the quote was expired. So you have to give us the $6 extra, $25 a year to go back. So this is us approving that quote. So it's $1,276.53 is the new amount for it.
I recommend that we approve the updated Fit Bose Inc. quote. It was originally approved December 9th, 2024 for the postage/mail machine for the tax office.
Sure. I have a motion and a second, as stated by Commissioner Castiglione. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 17, discuss and take possible action to approve board commissioners to the following emergency services districts. We have district number 2, and we'll just take it up first. We have both Mr. Todd Summers and Mr. Jeff Howard. They're both current board members. We have their applications in.
I'll make a motion to appoint Todd Summers and Jeff Howard to the ESD2 board.
Second.
I Have a motion and a second to approve Todd Summers and Jeff Howard to Emergency Service District Number 2 Board of Commissioners. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we have on Emergency Service District Number 5, we have 2. They are also current board members. We have Manuel Rodriguez and Maria Sanchez.
I make the motion that we appoint Manuel Rodriguez and Maria Sanchez to ESD 5 board.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to appoint Manuel Rodriguez and Maria Sanchez to the ESD Number 5 Board of Commissioners. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let me just make sure I have it. We are going to be down to, we have one of the commissioners with DSD 5 that we still need, but that's the one that a family member that's been in the hospital, so we get that one to us. So maybe next week we'll have it, and then we'll be good on those. So. All right, number 18, acknowledgement of County Treasurer Deborah Graff's completion of the Public Information Act and Open Meetings Act training. So, Deborah, if you want to come up, and usually do about a 30-minute presentation of exactly what you're doing. If you give us 10, we'll accept that. Yeah, 10.
You proud of it?
That's right. That's all you need.
That's how you do it in one sentence.
And 10 days. Don't forget 10 days.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I'll take a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Treasury Deborah Graff's completion of the Public Information and Open Meetings Act training.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, as stated by Commissioner Sitter. Any other discussion? Sure you don't want to do it, Penny? You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 19, court member announcements.
Everybody sit ready for the new year. We are, I would say, about half staffed right now because a lot of people are taking the New Year vacation. So we're really focusing on maintaining our equipment. We do have a lot of the paving equipment to be recalibrated, so it's ready to go when we get through the wintertime. Patching potholes, mowing grass carefully, and then picking up trash and limbs and debris, and then also cleaning up the yard because every once in a while it needs to go through and get that cleaned up. So, but I think that over the Christmas break, I think everybody I got very few phone calls, so that's a good thing.
The only phone calls I got, our office was closed for taxes one day, and that was really unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was really unbelievable how bad people can get for waiting 2 months to pay the taxes. When I told them they could online, they really got bad. But anyhow, I think we got our signs up to reflect the days of open and closed now. That was one of the issues we had. The other thing is we did get Victory Lane buttons put down the other day, and they look fantastic. We're not going to do racing trucks. Just the one I didn't leave.
Oh, they're yellow.
I didn't leave. But they look good. But other than that, everything's going good. Like I say, that business holiday is over with, and all I can tell you, we've had several deaths, wrecks, bad wrecks for that 3-4 days on Highway 90, and then joining roads, County Road 381. She had another death on it the other day. It's just, I think it's about 4 within a quarter mile in just this district now. And hopefully we see some end of the line of the tunnel on that. It looks like that right away will go through the property that the Red McCombs got after, and that's going to solve a lot of issues and give us some more issues to fix the road now. Headed north on County Road 381, which I'll be behind you 100% whatever we need to do. But anyhow, let's get these holidays over. Please be safe out there. Everybody's in a hurry, and everybody's mad, it seems like. I'm happy.
Precinct 3 is good, working with a skeleton crew like everybody else. Looks like everybody in the South got a new mattress for Christmas. Picking up the old ones off the road. So that, if you know anybody that's got a new mattress, that's not the proper way to do it. Just spread that word.
Precinct 4 is good. I have 2 guys working for the last couple weeks, so that's it. We're not getting a whole lot accomplished other than fixing a few potholes, and as David, we picked up mattresses every single day, couches, recliners, every single day. We've got all of that.
Excellent. So don't forget to go grab you some breakfast for like the 5th time. 10 a.m. on the 1st, Wednesday, we'll have the swearing in of the electeds here. It'll be at the, we'll do it upstairs in the town court tomorrow.
Here.
Okay. We're doing it right here. I know that now. We're doing it here. Yes, that's what we just, yes, it's going to be here. So 10 a.m. On Wednesday. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. I know one little Aggie that had a really good Christmas. I saw her do ride, and she's got. I bet she's excited to go back to school. Yeah, that's awesome. So I think that's all we have for today. Hope everybody has a safe and prosperous New Year's. Right here it comes. Really quick. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion, second, all in favor, aye. Aye. You're adjourned. Thank you all.